Alright, so continuing with our completing the square, we have ax squared plus bx plus equals 0, and we're going to look at completing the square way of solving. So this is just another option when you're asked to solve a quadratic formula. So we have example C here. We have 2x squared plus 12x plus 5 equals 0, and it's telling us to solve by completing the square. So the first thing that we're going to do is that 2 that's in front of the x squared, we need to get rid of that. Our first term needs to be, the first leading coefficient needs to be a 1. So dividing everything by 2, we have x squared plus 6x plus 5 over 2 equals 0. The next thing we're going to do is our constant on the end, we're going to move to the other side of the equal sign. So since this is positive, we're going to subtract it. So then we have x squared plus 6x equals negative 5 over 2. So now what we're going to do is we have that x squared and that 6x. So all of the terms that have an x are on one side and are just the number is on the right side of the equal sign. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a box here and we're going to complete the square. So when we have a square, like 4 is a perfect square, right? Because the square root of 4 is 2. We're going to create the same thing on this side. We want 2 parentheses that are exactly the same. We want both our parentheses to be x plus some number, and we want it to be the same for both, so that it is that binomial squared. So when it says completing the square, that's the form that we want. So we have x squared plus 6x equals some number. So we need 2 numbers that when we add them together, they add up to 6, but it needs to be that same number. So essentially we're taking half of 6. So what's half of 6? 3. So we want in our binomials, we want x plus 3, which means our last number is 3 squared. 3 times 3, which is 9. So if we're adding 9 to this side, what do we have to do to the other side of the equal sign? We have to add 9 over there. So here we have x plus 3 squared, and then we have negative 5 over 2 plus 9, which is 13 over 2, or 4.5. But that's not right. 6.5. And then, following from what we did yesterday, since this is a square, how do we undo a square? We square root, and we have to do that to both sides. And so then we just have what's left inside, x plus 3, and then we can move the 3 over, subtract that from both sides. Oh, what step did I skip? What do we have in the denominator? Right, we need to rationalize the denominator, and that's what they're doing here. And then we're moving that 3 over. Alright, so the steps here, I would highly recommend having all of those steps out as you're working through this to start with, and then as we get more comfortable, you won't need them as much. But so that you don't skip steps, like I skipped the rationalizing the denominator. But we're going to work on it, and we'll do several together, and then I want you guys to practice. Questions right now? Before we... Okay. Alright, well let's just jump right into it. Let's do one. So we're going to look at A. Alright, so step 1, divide by 4, right? To get our leading coefficient as 1. So we're dividing everything by 4.
So x squared plus 4x minus 5x.
So step 1. Alright, so now step 2 says that we need to move that negative 5/4 to the other side of the equal sign, so we just have x x's on the left side and numbers on the right side. And this is step 2. So that gives us x squared plus 4x equals 5 over 4.
We're gonna plus by 2.
Right, so here we're going to complete the square part. So we want to know what number, when we complete the square, what are we adding to this side?
Half of 4.
And then we have to add to that side, right? And what we want is we want 2 binomials that are exactly the same. So x plus 2, where'd that 2 come from? It's half of 4, right? And that's because when we do our FOIL, we have x times x gives us our first term, and then x times 2 plus 2 times x plus 4. So we're adding these two together, so we have to break it down into 2 equal parts. And so that's why we're dividing our middle term in half. We're adding a 4. If we add a 4 to this side, then what do we have to do to the right side to maintain equality? We have to add 4. Because I added 4 to this side.
No, it's 2.
What's 2 times 2?
4. I thought it was half of that.
That's our middle term. When we multiply this out, we get a 4, right?
So is it always the same number then? Oh,
No.
Okay, this one's 9, so just keep going here. I'm good.
Alright, so here, because when we do the FOIL, we get. So what's different from from here to here? This plus 4, right?
Yeah.
Since we're adding this 4 here, we have to add it here because it's to complete the square.
Yeah, see.
And so since we add 4 to the left side, we need to add 4 to the right side to maintain equality. Alrighty, so now we've completed the square here. We have x plus 2 squared equals 5 over 4 plus 4. What's 5 over 4 plus 4? What is it? Well, 4, this is 4 over 1. How do I make it so there's a denominator of 4? What number divided by 4 equals 4? What number divided by 4 equals 4? 16. So that we have 5 over 4 plus 16 over 4.
Yeah, 5.
So we're adding, so the denominators are the same.
That's still not.
Oh, okay, yeah. So 21, I added it, and then so it's 21 over 4 over here.
Yes.
Alright, so now I need to solve, and this is what we worked on yesterday. I want to make it x equals. X is inside that square, right? So how do I undo the square? Square root it.
That and the other one.
So when good. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. If I square root a square, then what am I left with?
X plus 2.
Right. The square root and square cancel, so we have x plus 2
equals positive or negative 21/4.
And then when we square root, we get 2 answers, plus and a minus. So now, alright, so what is the square root of 4? 2. So I'm just going to apply that. Can I take the square root of 21? No, I'm just going to leave that. But the square root of 4 is just, when I apply the square root, I'm left with just 2. So I have square root of 21 over 2. So do I need to rationalize this one? No, because I have a number and then denominator, so we got lucky. Is x by itself yet?
No.
No, so what do I need to do?
Minus 2.
I need to subtract 2. So when we do that, we have x equals negative 2 plus or minus square root of 21 over 2. So now how do we check our answer to make sure that we did it correctly? This is our x value. We have x plus square root of 21 divided by 2, and x equals negative 2 minus the square root of 21 divided by 2. So if we put that into our calculator, we can put each of those in, put one at a time, save it into the memory, and then plug it into the equation, and check. Alright, you want to do another one? Alright, so let's do, which one do you want to do? B, C, or D?
C.
C? Alright, so let's do C. So we have 2x squared minus 6x minus 1 equals 0. What does step 1 tell us?
Divide by 2.
Alright, we need to get our leading coefficient to 1, right? So we're going to divide every term by 2.
So x squared minus 3x minus half. Move that half over.
Alright, so step 2 tells us that our constant on the end needs to get moved to the left, right?
To the right.
Oh yeah, to the right. So x squared, so on the left side we have x squared minus 3x equals 1 half. Alright, what's step 3 tell us to do?
Study or make the box. So x
Alright, so now
minus.
we need to find out what we're adding to both sides, right? So we're actually going to complete the square now. Alright, so here we have 3. Alright, so what's half of 3? 1 1/2, right? I'm going to write it as a fraction, if that's okay. What's 1/2 as a fraction? Or 1 1/2? 3 over 2.
So x minus 3 over 2.
So this is negative, so
Listen.
Alright, so let's verify that this matches, because it's better to catch that mistake now than later, right? So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3/2 is negative. And then negative 3/2 times x. And then what's negative 3/2 times negative 3/2?
Square something.
It's something positive. So 3 times 3 is, and 2 times 2 is 4. Alright, so if we take negative 3/2 x plus negative 3/2 x, what does that equal? Does that equal negative 3? Negative 3/2 negative 1.5 minus 1.5, negative 3. So this checks, so that's good. So then what are we adding to?
9/4.
What's the difference between this equation and what we have here? 9/4. So I'm adding a 9/4 here. If I add a 9/4 to the left side, what do I have to do to the right side? Same thing. Alrighty. So here we have x minus 3 over 2 squared equals, what is 1/2 plus 9.9 over 4.